So you did mention just a second ago, you mentioned you're grateful for the people, in your life. And what I want to do is I wanted to ask this question. I like asking this question, which I totally forgot to ask until we did the last interview. But is there someone in your life that has changed your life that actually doesn't know it?
Probably be you, but you probably know it. I tell you everything.
Yeah?
Yeah, it'd probably be you, because you were always there. Everybody else left. Everybody left.
Yeah.
Oh, me and Ryan and Kosh, they were, yeah, they were a huge help. I remember, okay, Kosh, he's another friend. Their nicknames, obviously, except for Ryan. He doesn't get a nickname. It's an inside thing.
Yeah. Make sure he watches this so he can hear
that. And he is he's a professor at a medical university. He's a doctor, and he was in charge of his division. I'm not going to say where. Anyways, he was literally going into a meeting with all the big heads of the university, and I called him. He tells them to wait. Like, this is how devoted he was. He was always somebody that cared, So it was always good having, him and Ryan and V around, because they're, the everyday, if you need to, hang out, you can hang out with them. And that's what we did for a very, very long time, playing a really shitty game. But yeah, it's good to have people in your life, because without them, there's no point. Not for me. So it's important, super important.
Yeah. Well, I'm grateful to be in your life. I'm grateful you're in my life too.
Cool.
So what are we currently doing now? So when we think about a skill or talent, what's something you're doing that you'd like to share with the audience?
So this is kind of cool, because me and you had talked about when we were in middle school, we started doing wood class, and we both really took to it. And we even got to show the teacher up, of 26 years at the time, and that made me happy.
Okay.
I remember him being like, "That's not going to hold up. It's going to wag and wiggle, and it's just going to crumble." It's a TV stand that I had built, and you had helped me with it. And I was like, when I'm done with this, I'm going to have Ricky stand on it, and he's going to shake and move around, and it will not move. It will not move.
Yeah.
It's sturdy. And he goes, "Okay, Mr. Know-It-All." But I'm decently, I think it's just something that was natural for me when it came to architecture and stuff. I had the privilege of being able to design a house and live in it, and it was amazing. And honestly, even to this day, I can only find one flaw, and it was stupid. It was just having no awning going up the stairs. You got wet. It was the one time you got wet when it was raining. And beyond that, I was 16, and I designed the whole thing and sent it to the architect. This is what you got to do legally. And he said he had sent it back, and he wanted me to know that he didn't change anything, because for some reason I did it all right, even though there was a split roof in a corner with a vaulted ceiling on one side and not the other side, and somehow I designed it perfectly. And he's like, even after going to school, he does not entirely sure if you could have designed that. And I was like, it was simple. I was like, okay. But thank you. It just felt natural to me.
Yeah.
So
it was a cool house too.
It was a fun house.
I love that room.
Yeah, me too. It was really big, and it scared me because of the crap that happened every night. But building that thing was a big boost for me, being that age, that TV stand. Because I remember when we built it, you jumped on it, walked around, he got pissed, he didn't say a word and walked away. It didn't move a bit. See, it was
Yeah.
logical. Like, it all was built logically and simply.
Yeah, I remember he was like that, though. I remember I made, do you remember the coffin case I made?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I made that coffin case. So that was a guitar case for those of you out there that don't know. So I have a weird shaped guitar that needs a unique case. And I remember being in wood shop, and because I always did random stuff. I think both of us did that. It's like I didn't like doing what everybody else did, so I always tried to do something
We were
a little
like that
different.
always.
Yeah, always. And so I decided to build the frame out of wood for the coffin case. And I remember him just not scoffing, but you could tell he didn't really care too much about
it.
it.
He didn't like our gothness.
What's going on? And then, so I took it over the weekend. It was just wood with handles, whatever. Took it home. We put leather. We bound it with leather. We put fabric in it. My mom helped a little bit with the fabric and stuff in the sewing part. But like we put it all together, and I brought it back, and I was like, "Here we go." And he's just like, "What is this? You built this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I built it. Are you sure?" Yeah, positive. And he looked at it and he gave me an awesome grade on it, but I remember him seeing it. But I wish I still had it, but I ran that over with my car.
Actually, I remember that. You saying that.
Yeah, that was
It was the orange one, right?
Yeah, it was my Camaro. Yes, I had, I guess let's tell that story. So I had a Camaro and Tony. We were going to do like a little band practice, and he was down at the other house. I was like, oh, I got to go grab my guitar or something. So I go to the house. He stayed there. Went to the house, grabbed my guitar, set it up behind the car, and then went to go grab something else. And then hopped in the car and started it up. And at my old house, we always had just like sandbags, just random garbage. So I didn't even think anything of it. So I'm driving.
Just another thing.
I put it in reverse and I hit it, and I hear a thump, and I'm like, what is that? I was like, oh, I did see some sandbags out here the other day. It's probably just behind it. So I decided to reverse it. So reverse it goes over with those tires. And I'm like, well, I want to see what it was. So I go over with the front tires. And then I see it. And it's my guitar case. I'm like, oh. So I get out. And I look at it. And the case was destroyed. The guitar neck was broken. But the fretboard somehow didn't break. So I took it to a shop for them to glue it and fix it. It still works. I still play it today. But I went back to the house and I was like, dude, I broke my guitar. He's like, is that what that big pop was? Yep. You could hear it all the way down the street. But yeah, that's a fun story. But yeah, we always did that in wood shop. It was fun times.
I brought it up because it made such a huge impact on me. Because I was always like the creative type like you know?
Yeah.
And I was never as gifted as you with all kinds of things. So it was always just, I don't know, I always wanted to do something art. Like, it was always art. For me, it's like I can never get it off my brain. It's constantly. Like, if I'm not designing something, I'm not happy. Like, truly, I'm not happy. And so whether it be in my games that I were doing at the time or anything, like, I had to be designing something. I was even designing whole subdivisions. And I even almost got a chance to build a subdivision. And then that fell through, so I was sad. But I had designed it. And so now, because after the hospital, when I was in the hospital, I was like, why, like, I haven't been doing anything I've been wanting to do. Like, I was always like, this stops me. Even if I can just go for a little bit, if I can just do it. So I just started doing art. And now I do the acrylic pours and stuff. And so this is like a general idea good idea, I guess, of what I do. Some of it. And it's...
You want me to hold it while you talk through it?
Sure.
So you can, I don't know if you wanted to use it just to touch anything or just
No,
to
not
point
really.
things out.
It's just... I really like how that one turned out, though, because it's not colors I typically use. Because for me... I always dress in black, and so it's like this weird thing. Like, if I'm not in black, I'm not happy. It has to be black. But I enjoy color. Though my room has to be black too. But I enjoy color. But this is really pretty. And then I got this one that I just did too, just for an example. This one's like long. It's kind of hard to see. But it gives you a general idea, because there's so much detail in there. A lot of it you won't see. But they are neat. But I can do these because doesn't require me to like stand here for a really long time or even sit here for a really long time. So as silly as that sounds, I can't do that either. Like there's a point. I get 3 or 4 hours a day on a good day. That's what I get. And so if I do something, it's going to depend on what I'm doing, and it's going to obviously cut down the time. But so I probably don't get that. But that's easy for me to do fairly quickly because of the style, the method that you use. It's really fun. You like yours still? How is that?
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, I like yours was another special one. Not just because I was doing it for you, and it took me way longer because I was doing it for you, but it was because I think it was because I prayed on yours so much because I wanted Father to like intervene again, because I did this one that was huge.
Yeah.
You know, like it's bigger than this table. It's two plus of these table, and I dumped that thing on there, and it was because I couldn't handle the weight. It was killing me physically, and I couldn't do it. And the next thing you know, this beautiful painting is one of the best ones I've ever done, which clearly wasn't me. It was just like so gorgeous. And so then when I did yours, I was like, if this could happen a little bit again, that'd be nice. And I feel like it did to a point, because yours is just different. And I've tried replicating yours. I can't. It's weird. Like that galaxy look
Yeah.
is what I want.
Yeah.
It's hard to do. And I don't know what I did.
Yeah. And you take notes on all that stuff too.
I am now.
Oh.
Yeah.
You didn't then,
I mean, I didn't then. Now
Yeah.
they're like anally
I
retentive notes.
I saw it.
It's front and back.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I want to be able to replicate these things. So I've been taking pictures of what it looks like when it's a puddle and what it looks like after, and the notes. I really want a scrapbook is what I want. And I kind of want to get a Polaroid so I can take a picture and instantly print it and put it in the scrapbook with all the notes, so I can vaguely replicate what I've done. Because there's the majority of them I'll never be able to do again. Like the one over there. Every single person that comes over wants that painting. There's not been a one that doesn't. And I cannot do that again. Though I don't know if I physically can either, because that one about killed me. I had to spend so much time sitting here doing it because it was so much silicone in it that all the paint kept pulling away, so I kept dripping more paint on it.
Yeah.
I had to babysit it for hours. Yeah. And it's beautiful, and I epoxied it, which I've got to sand down and redo, but it turned out pretty good.
Yeah, that's cool. And then, so you also are turning that into a business. Do you want to share the?
I don't have. Well, I kind of do. Me and Volcor have. It's not his real name, obviously. We have this woodworking business, which me and you were going to create when we talked about doing it when we were in middle school.
For sure.
And then there was this thing that happened where he just mentions it. I don't think I ever told him.
Yeah. And
he's like, well, at least for now, me and you, let's build a woodworking business. And so with his ability to get credit, I put what little I can put into it, and over the course of a year, we got a little bit of a shop going. Yeah. And I can't get down there much, but it's cool. So we're trying to using that. I don't even remember what it's called right now. We haven't really started it. He has a couple of things that he's done, but that's about it.
Okay. And you guys have a landing page on?
We have Amazon is what we're doing on it's kind of like a maker's page. I don't know what they call it. Something with craft in it. Handmade or something like that.
You don't remember the name offhand?
No, offhand I don't.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll make sure you guys know. I'll put the description. I'll put the name in the description, and maybe I could even have a link to that page so then people can access it.
Yeah, that would help. But we'll see what happens, because it just takes me a long time to do things. For sure. I mean, I'd like to do commissions and stuff, but it's a matter of getting a hold of me and doing it. It is going to be hard. I mean, I'll do it. There's no doubt. I'll do it in a heartbeat. It's just getting a hold of me is hard.
For sure. Okay. So Amazon business, so I'll get that from you, the name and all that stuff. And then can they find you on any social media or anything like that?
I technically on TikTok, but I only have one thing on there, and it'll give you an idea of like my early stuff. That is.
And what's that called?
It's just my name, I think. Christopher Akana. I think it's just my name. That's something that I have plans on increasing, like really making that more active, so I can have a social media presence. Because according to some people that sell, they say it's really important.
Yep.
Just to make it so people know that you're a real entity, like you're a real person and not a robot.
Yep. And then so they know. So you'll be doing acrylic pouring, so the painting stuff that you do. You'll have the woodworking stuff, which I know they can't see that right now, but I'll make sure that they see that in the videos.
The woodworking stuff, we had the idea of doing it all Christian woodworking stuff, which is still what we want to do. But at the end of the day, we'll do whatever you want within reason. And we are also working on a table that's an epoxy pour table. It looks like the ocean. It looks like a glimpse into the ocean. It has a great white shark. It's about this big. It's too big. It was a lot of work, and it's still not done. But it's got like the beach, but it's all underwater. And it's got the shark, and it has an octopus, a pretty big one, guarding treasure, and little fish swim around and plants and stuff. It looks cool. It's sweet.
Yeah.
But that'll be a table eventually.
Cool.
We'll do a lot of things.
Yeah, so you got the TikTok, you have the Amazon business, and then anything else as far as
on that
you
end,
want to promote the...
on that end, no. Nope.
Okay, cool. And then a few things I like to do. So one, if there's anything else that you want to share that's really important, we can share that real quick for you. And then we have this thing that I like to do where the last guest created a question that you're going to get, and then you're going to create a question for the next guest.
Okay.
So, but before we do that, so what else, anything else that you want to share with the audience?
Yeah. So, kind of like testimonial, actually.
Yeah.
So when it's about a year before I got into the hospital, or 2 years, I don't know what it was. It doesn't really matter. I was sitting in bed, and I started going through like Christian TikTok videos for some reason, and something sparked inside of me. You know, it was like, because with you, your mom always would take us to church, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and so there was one time where me and you we went to church, and we went to the youth part, and they had baptized. They asked if I wanted to get baptized, and at the time I didn't know what it meant.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew that it was something spoke in me, like saying that it was right, you know. And so I said yes, and I did. And I feel like maybe that's why this thing is like, it's got to be the Holy Spirit. Like, it's got to, like, it's hard for me to put into words, and I'm not even sure. I'm like stumbling over my words because I can't quite explain what I wanted to explain. But basically, I was sitting there one day, laying there, and I would have all these moments of relationship building with Father, and it was so nice. And then at one point, I was laying there, and I was like, I had just fallen asleep, so I was like in and out of sleep kind of thing, just falling asleep. And I remember hearing his voice. He called my name, and he said, like, softly, open your eyes and look to your left. Like, turn around and look out the window. And I go, what? Why? He goes, go to sleep. And I did. And I just remember seeing the pinkest sky, which at the time I didn't know it was a possibility. It's like pink with a little bit of blue, like, and white stripes there. It was gorgeous. And I just remember being like, oh, okay. Mr. Show Off over here. I was like, yeah, it's gorgeous. I was like, I didn't know he did that. Just showed me something I like to see, I guess. It just felt like boasting. He probably wasn't. But it was funny. And it made me laugh so hard. Because I was not going to turn around and, like, just open the blinds and be like. And then from there was this moment where it's like one of those things. The Holy Spirit tells you things with not like gives you knowledge that you don't have. It's God's knowledge. So he I don't know. This is like this thing in me spoke, and I go, I want to see the world as it is. I know I might not be ready for it all, but show me what you can. Release the veil. And I had no idea about a veil. Like, I didn't understand the words that were coming out of my mouth, but then later, I realized what I had done. And in the moment, I felt it. Like, it felt physical to me. And it was like I could see color for the first time. And it was like, oh my gosh, what is this? It was like so hard to process that. And I remember for like 6 months, I went through an existential crisis 5 times because he didn't just like do it suddenly. Though the veil came down, he did it in spurts, which was like 4 to 5 spurts, and it was enough to like not destroy my freaking consciousness, like because there's a lot in this world that we're taught the opposite of what things are, and it's hard. It's hard when everything is shown to you like you thought was true, and it's all not true. It's not true. It uproots your foundation.
Yeah.
It's a change. And so it took a lot for me to figure out. And I remember telling you a little bit of being like, I'm just like struggling right now. I'm just like really trying to figure things out. But I don't know what is going on. Like, it's crazy. And I just knew that it all was because I asked that. And I remember from that day forward, I was like, anybody, like, you should always have a relationship. That's all he wants is a relationship. And that's all you need to do. You start a relationship. You don't need to come to him and be like, I'm this perfect person now. You'll never be that perfect person when you're in the flesh. It's not how it works. But if you just come to him, it's truly all it takes. Come to him, and with all your heart and soul, if you search for Jesus, you will find him. Some people are like, oh, I lost Jesus or this and that. It's like, no, you didn't lose anything because he doesn't get lost. Mm-hmm. It's not how it works. But you just have to be willing to open yourself up to it. And it is hard because we want to be, honestly, at the end of the day, we want to be our own gods. We want to be our own person, do our own thing. We feel like we know what's best for us. We know everything. Like, we'll figure it out. This is not true. And you're not coming to somebody that's gonna harm you. You're coming to somebody that loves you in a way that you can't comprehend. And I promise you can't, because I felt 33% of it. It takes you. It envelops you, and you can lose yourself. And it's not meant for you to be that kind of love you can't handle when you're in the flesh. You can't. You can only handle that kind of love when you're in the spirit, because it's so extreme. It will kill you in the flesh, I believe. That is my belief, because of how I felt. I think I would have lost myself completely without her telling me to snap out of it and to be present. But I also had this thought really quick a while ago. I was watching a show, and it saddens me a lot of the times, because I enjoy a lot of these shows. I try not to live in the world too much, but it's like, what else are you going to do, man? It's hard to get by the day. So it's like, I like my shows. But so many of these shows, especially with the Japanese anime, it's demonic in nature. So you have to be conscious and aware and try not to let that change you. Like, know your values, know the truth, know what's real, and know who the Lord is. But I say this because when I was watching it, at one point, I was just like, I'm so sorry you have to deal with the crap you deal with. Like, these people they frustrate me. Like, it's such ignorance. And then he doesn't care. He understands more than we can understand. So it doesn't faze him like it phases us. It bothers him. It doesn't bother him like we think it would bother us. He's not like us. He doesn't think like us. But I had this thought that it's so amazing. This omnipotent, infinite ability, infinite power, infinite everything. This individual that was so perfect and so content to just be as he was, didn't choose to just create us and be like an overlord on us and do us harm or play with us and be a toy for him. He could have chosen to do anything and create anything. He chose to be a father. A perfect one. A one that's not just a father, but one that came down and died for us. It's like, what? So good. It's powerful. If you really think about it, that's like the most powerful thing you can ever think of. It's crazy to me. Why would you want to experience all that pain and suffering? All of it in one life. He was like 33 years old. Obviously, he went ahead of plan because of his mom. But, it was like, it's crazy to think, like, he's experienced everything you've experienced in one way or another. And it was all at once, and it was probably, well, we know it was way more than you think, because the way he died was, people don't understand. The emperor came to, I don't know who it was one of his lieutenants, I can't remember the name. He had come to him and he asked him, I want you to create a torture method that kills people, and it's the most brutal death imaginable, like the actual worst way to die. I want you to create that. And he created the crucifixion and the thing following up to it as well. And he went through all of that. He was stripped naked and tormented and mocked and everything else, like everything. And it's like he chose to do that for you. How can you not love him?
It changed your life.
Yeah. I was asked by B, I guess a while ago, what it was like in the hospital, and about like with all that stuff, because he was always there, And I was like, I don't know what to tell you, because it's just your father being there for you. It's like, it's just how that would be, like one that loves you a lot. He's just there. And every time, man, we had the craziest things happen to us there too. We needed like a couple of things. Unfortunately, at the moment, I can't remember what they were, but they were so off the wall, like kind of crazy. But it was like, we really kind of need this. And it just happened. And it shouldn't have happened, but it did. And so many times when it did, me and Mom look at each other and instantly knew why it happened. Like, that's insane. Thank you so much. And it's just so amazing. But he had asked at one point why he calls me, like when he speaks. And I was like, he calls me son. What else would he call me? I was like, that's stupid. Jeez. This is what I thought real quick. But I was like, I get it.
It's awesome knowing that you're not alone too.
Yeah, that was really important. Because, you are alone in a room at some point. Always inevitable. And I just remember, like, Jesus actually standing there at one point, like, several times. But when it got bad, he was just there to, like, ease the emotional torment and everything else. And there was even a point where I had to exorcise a demon from the hospital because another one got in. Even though my room was safe, I was teaching somebody in the, like, dream world, basically. And I don't know for sure if this person was even real, if this was just my dream, but I feel like they were real, and they weren't in the hospital. I think they were just in bed somewhere, if it's real, because it's super hard to say. A lot of that could just be your imagination. When it comes to some of this stuff, you got to be really aware and careful about it. But I was talking to her, and she said that she wanted to know him, but she didn't know how. And I was like, it's easy. I'll just teach you, like, the basics. I'll teach you the gospel. And so I started doing it, and remember holding a Bible, and I knew where it was. I knew I was in the dream world. I knew all of that. I was very, very aware, but I was in the spirit. So it was very different. My mind was so clear. Like, everything's different. So I knew this was future me. Like, one day this will be future me as well. Like, this is a good glimpse. And I was standing there teaching her and reading and telling her some of my thoughts. And next thing you know, we both felt this demon 2 or 3 floors below us. And she got so scared. She was just filled with so much fear. And I was just like, you do not need to be like fearful. And I just remember this light. I was just like, you're good. Why are you so worried? Just listen to me. And she just stayed here. Like, I just kept her focus here. I remember keeping her focus. And we kept going. And it was upsetting it. And then it came up. And I remember feeling and kind of like seeing, because it's weird. You can see like the shadow entity behind you, like just a big massive shadow. There was no form yet. And then she just looked at me. And she was just like, I'm sorry, I can't do it. And I was like, it's okay. You can just, like, I don't expect you to handle this now. This is, I get it. And she's like crying. And I'm just like, it's okay. You can go. And she leaves. And I just remember saying, you've interrupted me. It was very important. And he goes, yeah, you see the filthy one, the filthy holy one. And I was just like, looking at it, and it was trying to scare me as it gained form. And it like put its hand on me, and it was like clawed. And I just remember looking at it and being so fascinated by it, because it was so interesting how it could be like part shadow and part physical. It's weird. No fear. And then it like creeped around me, like did that creepy thing, like tried to smile really huge, and its teeth got longer, like it kept changing shape. And that wasn't working, because I smiled back at it, because I thought it was kind of cute how he's trying to scare me. And I'm filled with the Holy Spirit right now. Nothing's gonna harm me. Like this guy, he's already lost. So he comes around and he changes forms again, and he starts shifting into like fur, and his claws got like really, really long, and he just like trying to show off. And he's like, I don't want to hear that filth, Holy One, the filthy Holy One, or whatever he kept saying. And I was just like, okay, I'm gonna keep teaching it. And then I said something about like, be gone from this place. You are now binded, or I don't know. It was just like from within. I just bound him in the name of Jesus and like kicked him out of the hospital for good. Because there was this older man that he was trying to torment down there. He was like on top of him. I didn't like it. And so he was gone. And I just remember the light coming in, like not in, but like out. And then I remember him being like screaming, like a tormented scream, and then like shrinking down into nothing, and then being like shot out to nothing. It was like the craziest thing. But I was like, at one point during this interaction, I remember feeling this pity, overwhelming pity for this small creature. I felt like he was so small, because he's just filled, like I could feel his emotion. I felt what he is. His very being is everything negative. And that's all he is. And that's all he ever will be, because he doesn't know how to do anything else. Like, that's what he is. And I just had this overwhelming pity. And the second he felt that, he flipped out, and that's why he was trying to scare me more. And he was like, don't pity me, and he got pissed.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just one of those things. And I had no problem doing it. But it's not something that I want to do, because it's something I've had enough. But I've had night terrors too ever since growing up in the house that I grew up in, and I eventually realized that these are dreams that are being kind of given to me, not to torment me, but to teach me and to help me grow. for future reasons. And I realized without those dreams, without that lesson, even though I woke up screaming and I only won twice, but by the time I started winning and conquering these things, this is the time I started realizing and feeling like I can do this. Like, why am I so scared? It's nothing. And it just changed. Everything just changed. It was really cool. It was a really big breakthrough moment for me. It was really nice. Oh, I found out later, about a year later, that demons refer to Jesus as the Holy Filthy One, or the Filthy Holy One, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea.
Interesting.
Yeah, I learned that from some kind of, I think, a Catholic guy, like a bishop or something, that does exorcisms. Obviously, I'm not into the Catholic Church. That shit's messed up. But, yeah, he was a cool guy. He talked a lot about that stuff, what he's done, what he does do, and he said that's definitely a recurring occurrence. It's like a nickname, because it disgusts them to their core. You can feel it, and it's so weird. It's like, because they truly are. They're just the polar opposite. It's like a mirror. It's a reverse mirror. It's weird. It's hard to explain. But I also had some nurse that was being tormented and possessed, I believe. I was pretty doped up at the time. And I just remember her coming close to my doorway, and instantly I woke up. That danger alarm that I've set. I've had to set my brain to do certain things because of certain disabilities. Like, it's important. My alarm went off, woke me up. Danger, danger, danger. Wake up. Woke up, looked at it. I was like, what's happening? And then I realized what's happening. Bad energy, like black, I could tell. Like, something not good's coming in. And it was a nurse. And I was like, that's weird. What the hell? And then I seen it. And I was like, oh shit, no, get her away. Because I felt her intention as well.
Mm-hmm.
It was not good. It was there to do harm. And so I told Mom, get her out of this room. Do not want her here ever again. She can't be here. And it was just a thing. Like, I feel a little bit bad about like having to say that to her directly like that, because I know she's not completely aware of what's going on. But I was not in a condition where I can do anything right now. Like, it wasn't the time. It wasn't for me. Like, it's for somebody else to handle. You don't have to handle everything. Got enough on your plate.
For sure. So you've had a lot of really interesting experiences that, I love hearing about it. So when we think about, so I like to ask this question too, is like, so if your life so far was a story, what would the title be called?
Yeah, I don't know what it would be called, because I tried writing a book one time. I never came up with it. I can never come up with it.
Well, if you could sum up your story so far, what do you think?
Trying to get by in the world? I don't know. Trying to survive this messed up world. Especially when you learn that who's the king of this world at the moment. It makes it harder. You realize why it's harder. That is, not makes it harder. It makes it easier. You start understanding it.
So you're thinking something about surviving, or I don't know.
It's a good story of survival. Survival, knowledge, understanding, like growth. Learning, growth in all kinds of ways, right? It's life. It's what it's meant to be. You're meant to grow in this life. You're meant to learn things. That's why Father doesn't give us diseases or things bad that happen to us. He uses things. Nothing can be done without his permission, but he doesn't give it. He doesn't initiate it, But he'll use the situations to our advantage, because we are eternal beings.
Yeah. This
is a blink of an eye. This is something that you need to, here's a quick, course. Just go through it real quick. I can't think of the word. I lost the word. But it's, when you look at it like that, it's interesting. You start realizing more of why you have so many troubles and tribulations, because they all lead to to growth. Just like Father doesn't just give you an answer, because what if you don't know the question? So usually he gives you the question so you can have the answer. If you don't know the question, you don't know the answer. So that happens a lot. You know, it's the same basic idea. You're still learning. We'll learn for a long time.
So in all you were saying there, I was thinking, so we could do trials and tribulations stuck out, or growth and survival.
I like trials and tribulations.
Like that?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's going to be the thumbnail for this video.
I like that.
Okay. Okay. And then what I want to do is, so it's time for me to share the question with you from our last guest, and then you get to create your own question for the next one. So this question was, what's the biggest problem society is facing today?
Oh, that's easy. Kind of easy. It's hard to sum up. It's hard to put into words as it is. So it comes back to the same thing I've kind of been saying, is the fact that Lucifer is the king of this world right now. Just like, to give you biblical evidence of that is the fact that when Jesus was on his, like, what was it, like 47 days or something like that, isolation, fasting and all that.
Fasting.
He was tempted by Lucifer, and he had, one of the temptations was, I'll give you the kingdoms you see before you, which was like 5 of them or something like that. I don't remember. You can't give something that doesn't belong to you. So it did belong to him, and he had the right to give it to Jesus. It does belong to him. It's just not always going to belong to him, you know. So it's, what's happening in society right now is a lot of manipulation by darker entities and this and that, and they don't, people not understanding basic spiritual warfare and stuff like that. So just like tons of things, like the transgender thing. Anytime you have suicidal thoughts, those thoughts that come, those intrusive thoughts, like if you're standing at a subway, you're like, I wonder what it would happen if I just stepped in front of the bus, you know, like that weird thing, and they call it the lizard brain. It's all there. It's just, you understand, the lizard, the demon, it's the demon whispering that into your ear, and sometimes it sounds like your own voice. That's what's wrong with our society. It's the manipulation and the people not understanding they're being manipulated and not turning to Christ for understanding and life, peace and clarity, wisdom, just knowledge in general. Like, honestly, that is super simple. You just got to understand. That's what I would say.
Yeah. So what question would you want to give to the next guest?
Oh, it's a good question, too. I just don't know.
Okay. We can come back to it. And I'll just make sure that I share it with the next guest. So.
I like this.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Nike. That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny. I had no idea they had anything like that. Is it just for the employees?
Yeah. So you could order them through they had like a little shop where they get
these kind of notebooks are hard to get your hands on.
Yeah, moleskins. Yeah.
Dude, it's the thing that I've tried doing here and there. Not like straight out, I'm gonna go get one right now. You know, I just look here and there.
Okay. Well, hey, it's been awesome connecting. I mean, we connect all the time, but I'm glad I got to get you on the podcast. And
yeah, I'm glad we did it.
I'm glad you got to share, because
hopefully it helps people. Hopefully it helps people.
Yeah.
You know, I know it sounds insane, especially to somebody that comes from a different outlook, like just a different type of person.
Yeah, for sure. But that's what's cool about this podcast, is it's all about just different perspectives and getting to know people on a more intimate level. And the cool thing is you have some really great stories, and we've been friends forever. So I'm glad you wanted to do it.
Yeah, I think it's really important, especially since I don't can't really get out much. So it's it's good to get like testimonies out there. It's super important, honestly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm glad we did it too. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, and yeah, I'm sure we'll do it again.
Cool.
Okay. Cool. Oh no.